over. Rachel is from the Science Action Club in California. And for those of you that maybe have heard from the Science Action Club before, Rachel is new to our group. So I know that the Globe partners here will definitely welcome you with open arms, and the teachers will too, of course. I trust the teachers implicitly to be nice, but sometimes not the partners. So.
That's good to know. Awesome. Hi, everyone. I am Rachel. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so that I can present my slides. Can you all see that? Okay, I'm seeing Peggy nod yes, so I'm going to proceed unless I get any more interruptions. Let me know if the tech fails at any point. And I do have my notes on my phone, so forgive me for looking down at it throughout all of this. What's cool is I actually have had, even though I'm new to the Science Action Club team, I've had a lot of partnership with Tracy over the years. I actually met her, I want to say about 5 years ago, and have kept my eye on Globe over the years, so I'm excited to take a bigger role with Science Action Club. I'm going to go over the basic structure of Science Action Club as we would normally have run it. I do want to kind of start with a caveat that I know we're in very unusual times, so I'll go over the structure as is, and then towards the end I'll talk about ways that we're pivoting and we're supporting clubs virtually and all the resources that we have that way. But I did want to kind of provide an overview of how we normally do things and all the resources that we have available. So again, I'm Rachel, Science Action Club Manager. I've been on the team for about 9 months, I believe. And Science Action Club is a program out of the California Academy of Sciences in San Francisco. As I'm peeking out my window today, we have a beautiful day. There's no fog here in San Francisco, which is a rarity. The Academy is a really amazing place. It's an aquarium, a planetarium, rainforest, all under one living roof, which you see in the slide here. And the really unique and special thing about the Academy is we have a research branch as part of the staff and the work that we do there. So they're studying biodiversity and sustainability all around the world. But what's cool about that is we actually have a citizen science division within our research division that helps support projects like iNaturalist or City Nature Challenge, and also helps inform the work that we do on Science Action Club. So we're really excited to have them as a resource. There's our next slide. Science Action Club in a nutshell is a content provider. We work with middle school youth all across the country, so we consider that grades 5 through 8, and we're specific to out-of-school time and after-school programs. We've worked with teachers before, and we've had success there, but our materials are really geared for after-school environments and summer camps, library programs, so that they can kind of take advantage of their structure and be able to have more science and more STEM resources within their program. Science Action Club as a content provider gives professional development, kits of materials, and resources to lead activities with youth. So we have 3 environmental science units: Bug Safari, Bird Scouts, and then Cloud Quest, which is the most applicable to this group, which I'll dive into a little bit later. But what's really cool is each of those 3 units is anchored in their own citizen science program, so that the youth learn how to collect data and follow the citizen science protocol, and they're really engaging in the science community, and they're working with professional scientists and really feel like they have a place within that community. We work with educators to get them trained up. We know how important it is to have an excited, enthusiastic facilitator for activities and for programs. So we want to get their comfort and their excitement up as well, which we do through those professional development trainings. We offer those online and in person as well. And then what you see in the middle of the slide here is our kit of materials. So that's everything you need for our Cloud Quest program to implement at their site. One of the things that attracted me to Science Action Club was that it can be run anytime, anywhere. We have a trainer who does the bug safari program in the wintertime in Alaska, if you can imagine finding arthropods then. And then we have programs that are doing bird scouts in the summertime in New York, so in a really urban environment. And they've had a lot of successes in all of those. So our citizen science programs that are anchored with each of our 3 units are highlighted here. So Bird Scouts, we work with eBird, Bug Safari work with iNaturalist, and then Cloud Quest happily partners with Globe and NASA to highlight the protocol there. And we found through citizen science, as all of you know, we're citizen science enthusiasts here, the excitement that it brings, the curiosity that it brings, the support that it provides to youth and adults to build their own STEM identity is really powerful. And we see that through our evaluations that we do with Science Action Club. So last year, we had our external evaluation firm look at our youth survey programs, and they found that 87% of youth said that science was fun, and 91% said science is interesting after participating in Science Action Club. So we really see that they are getting intrigued by it, and especially during those middle school years where it can be really tricky to keep them engaged. My favorite metric from the program last year was that 92% of those youth said learning about science can help me better understand the natural world. And that really points to me that they are building up their own environmental literacy and they're becoming advocates in the world to have a healthier, happier environment. Okay. So diving into Cloud Quest, which is the program that we partner with Globe for. We have a really long, awesome partnership with Globe at Science Action Club, and the protocol that we use is specific to clouds within Globe. We started using School back in 2012 and then later transitioned in partnership to using Globe from there. And we worked really closely with the Globe team to create the materials that complement the protocol that's going on there, but not replace or replicate it. So we really have a beautiful partnership and parallel that we're working on with our Cloud Quest unit that uses that Globe protocol through there. So what Cloud Quest and this protocol would look like in action at a club. So imagine hopefully not too far in the future, we have groups of youth gathering together again at a summer camp. I'm definitely an optimist, so I'm hoping that we can get there soon. But they gather together to do this protocol, and every time they have a club meeting, they do what we call a sky survey. So this is the actual protocol that they're going through. They get into teams to collaborate as fellow scientists together, and each of them are practicing the protocol, they're collecting data on their own, but we really ask that they come together at the end of that protocol collection to submit just one observation to Globe. So I want to skip ahead one more slide so you can see some fun pictures of youth in action here. So on the right-hand side, the group of youth that are together, they have just facilitated their sky survey. So they have their notebooks open. They've collected all the data for the protocol in there. You can see the young man in front is holding the color strip that he can hold up to the sky and compare the color of the sky to what he has on the strip as one of the data points. They're doing observations about cloud coverage, so they're estimating how much of the sky is covered, what types of clouds, and then they'll work together as a group to submit all of that data together. And then on the left-hand side is another activity that we do in Cloud Quest where they are learning about the different clouds at different levels of the sky. And then they blindfold themselves and try to attach it to this altitude axis at the appropriate place in the sky. So it's a fun way for them to learn about the different cloud types, altitudes, and then they use that knowledge to then feed into the sky survey, which they're doing every week, which is pretty fun. So all of that is kind of the youth experience. So that's the fun that they're having, the data that they're collecting. But one of the really important parts of this is supporting the staff that we work with in out of school environments, libraries, after school programs, things like that. And one of the goals of Science Action Club is to professionalize that space. And that is probably now as important as ever. We've seen that a lot of these programs are pivoting to do emergency childcare and providing food resources to the programs that we work with. So that sentiment really rings true. And how Science Action Club does it is we make sure that we are supporting their work and that we are making sure that they are trained and excited to do everything. So the screenshots that you see here on the slide are the screenshots from our online training where they get content background, they get citizen science protocol understanding, and they also get strategies to be really good STEM facilitators within those resources as well. Outside of this, we have opportunities for them to get trained in person or work with a local trainer as well for them to have kind of regional hubs and collaboratives that they can create professional learning environments with. So that's Science Action Club as a whole, high-level overview of us as a content provider and role in the industry of out-of-school time. But what that looks like now, because we are in such a unusual, unprecedented time, is that a lot of the programs we're working with are still supporting staff, are still working with youth either virtually or they're providing homework packets for them to go home with. So one of the things that we are offering to all the programs that we're working with and partners that we work with is that on our program page, as always, there's links to the 3 lessons within each of those 3 units that outlines the citizen science protocol that they can be doing wherever. And this links to all the printed materials they'll need, all the instructions they need, resources to get them set up on apps if they haven't downloaded those yet. So you can navigate to that first link at our program page if you're interested in that resource. Outside of that, we have notebooking opportunities. I heard on the water cooler last week and also just through conversations in the field that notebooking is a really powerful tool always, but especially now when, staying connected to nature and kind of processing our thoughts is really important. So I linked in another resource as science notebooking as a tool for investigation and kind of understanding this content a little bit more. And this is from our partners and colleagues at the Academy too on the teacher development side. And through all of these kind of conversations we're having in this really unusual time, I've been completely impressed by the creativity and the tenacity of a lot of the programs that we're working with. And I wanted to highlight one example in particular, which is a case study from Washington. This is a educator that we've had in Science Action Club for a few years. She was originally trained at Woodland Park Zoo up in Seattle with a trainer there. And what she did during this time is she gave me a call and she said, I want to adapt CloudQuest to be a virtual club, 100% virtual for the 4-H groups that she's working with. She was hoping to recruit some families to start this project and kind of go from there. But she went ahead and went through every single activity in Science Action Club and adapted it for a virtual environment. And some of these are games that are outdoors and very hands-on. They're adaptations of tag that get you learning about different parts of a cloud. So I was really impressed with her creativity to transition things like that to a virtual environment on Zoom. And one of the fun ones I saw was this first one here, Eye of the Storm. She transitioned into a Kahoot game so that they could play and have some fun on this Zoom while also learning about things. So wanted to highlight some of the creativity that's going on in the field with Science Action Club during this unusual time. And last but not least, before I kind of open it up for discussion and questions, is just ways to get a hold of us, ways to learn more. We have our program page that I mentioned earlier that has all those sample lessons with the scientific protocol linked and our email there. So we'd love to start a conversation and learn more and share resources with you. And once programs are up and running again, we'd love to partner with groups to kind of build their capacity and build their STEM influence as well. So thanks everyone. I'll go ahead and leave my slide up for now. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer those. I also saw the chat box going, so let me know if there are any questions through the chat.
There were no questions through the chat yet, but if anybody has any questions, now would be a good time.
Hey, Rachel, this is Tracy. I'm going to jump in real quick here. Something you said just kind of made my eyes just go, wow, kind of thing. And that was that blended training. And this is something that we struggle with Globe a lot in trying to have this online training component and in-person expertise kind of component. And I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more on this, the blended concept that you mentioned.
100%. And yeah, you're striking on a really important point that I think all of us kind of struggle with, and the tension between wanting to reach really far with your online resources, but also knowing that there's so much power in in-person trainings and kind of having that face-to-face interaction. Our blended learning is any person that goes through an in-person training is completing our online training in the first place, so that every single club that we have has that as a foundation for any of the clubs that they're running. So the online training is not just something that we're doing for clubs that are remote, but it's something that we're doing for our in-person conversations as well, so that they come to the table with that foundational understanding. And outside of that, the online training is a powerful tool. There's nothing like being able to engage with somebody that's really far away and provide them everything they need to get set up. But we also know that we want to work with partners to have as much in-person and face-to-face training as possible. So we work partner by partner to kind of create what that looks like. Sometimes that means facilitating a training for them in their region. I was up in Spokane earlier this year and worked with programs and libraries from Montana, Idaho, and Washington to facilitate a training there so they could implement Science Action Club. But we also are looking into trainer networks. So having trainers and cohorts and hubs in different areas so that they can facilitate those in-person trainings and we can support them from afar as well. So blended learning, I think, is a really interesting space, and it presents challenges, and I'm excited to hear if y'all have any silver bullets out there on how to manage these kind of different things that we're discussing. Thanks, Tracy.
I have a question. I'm not sure if there is a time for another question. Okay. Hi, Rachel. Thank you very much for your excellent and passionate presentation. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And we all in awe what you're doing, of course. And we appreciate that you so masterfully developed a partnership with Globe, with NASA, and it really benefits your program as well. A few questions. Do you have your own learning management system, or you're adapting every time with a school district learning management system that you're working with? How you go about the learning management system, or you just using chunks of technology?
That is a great question, and that is a very great question. We developed our own online training with a design firm called Kineo, and we use an external learning management system so that districts, for example, or libraries, after school programs, whoever wants to go through that online training can access it from wherever they are, and it's asynchronous, so they can, start and stop as they're needed. So we don't adapt to the learning management system of each partner that we're working with, but we do have one that we're able to provide as we partner with all of those. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and it brings more questions, of course, because we're in the midst of this challenging time in education. So, how steep is the learning curve for the school districts to really catch up with your learning management system?
We designed it to be as easy as possible, and we really get positive feedback from the training that it's both easy to go through and it's fun to go through. We tried to design something that was really visual, that went through content about clouds, went through content about the citizen science, with fun and games and interaction. So as it's designed, I would hope that there's a low barrier to entry so that anybody who's jumping on it can feel really comfortable available. Typically, the partners that we're working with are actually pretty low tech. You know, they don't use a whole lot of stuff within their after school programs. So even those groups that maybe don't have as much comfort as other audiences have found some success and have been able to go through the online training happily.
Thank you, Rachel. And
Yes.
very quick follow-up on this.
Mhm.
So since you have your own LMS in place, which is fantastic, do you have a contract with the firm who designed it, or if you adopted from the open source, how you go about data privacy?
Great. Yeah, there's a few questions in there. So we worked with the design firm to design the online training. Then we house it on its own LMS. So we had contracts with both of those groups separately. And in terms of the data privacy, we ask that the adults are the ones that are going through the training, and the adults are the ones that are creating that citizen science account. Typically, we have them make it for their after school program or for their summer camp, for example, so that there's that A, collaboration piece so that they're submitting together, but B, so that that adult is the one in charge of the account for their
Thank you,
program.
Rachel. Thank you for sharing, and I'm sure we will follow up with more questions. I don't want to bother everyone with this, but kudos to you, and it looks like you took care of practically all aspects of it. And I'm specifically asking these questions because I hope to encourage our educators to to watch the recordings. And I know these questions are on their mind, so I'm
Great.
sort of asking on their behalf. So thank you, Rachel.
Great, thank you.
And Rachel, if you can stay with us, that would be great in case
Yes.
there's more questions later, but I just want to pop over to Peggy, so give her time. But if you could stay on, that would be great.
Sure. Did I pass off the controls okay?
I think so. Peggy, are you ready to go?
Yes.
All right, we can see your screen.
All right, there we are. Can you see it?
Perfect. Yep.
Okay. So, so this is how one informal environmental education program is implementing GLOBE. And I have talked about this a little bit before. And you know, I pretty much know who you all are. So I'm an education specialist, and I'm the GLOBE Partnerships Coordinator at Elkhorn Slough National Estuarine Research Reserve. But my GLOBE experience started 25 years ago when GLOBE started, because I was a teacher and very quickly trainer for the GLOBE program when it first began. And I taught high school science. I taught biology, environmental science, APs, and some earth science. And was a GLOBE teacher for 18 years at Kingsburg High School in the San Joaquin Valley. And I still live on the same latitude, but I moved towards the coast about 7 years ago. And now for 5 years, I've gone from formal to informal educator. I've always been pretty informal though. So that's the background I bring into taking this Elkhorn Slough Reserve into GLOBE. So where are we? In Monterey Bay, we are halfway between the city of Santa Cruz and Monterey on Elkhorn Slough Estuary. And you can see as I click the western coast of California, and for those of you who were international, that's where that is. Okay, and here you can see where that star appeared. That's where our visitor center is. We are 3 miles from the ocean, and an estuary is between us. And looking down from above, the visitor center here is on the right, and the slough mouth is on the left. And just to get a better perspective, I'm very visual with maps and things. So an estuary is where saltwater meets freshwater, and we do a lot of watershed education and estuary education at our reserve. There are 29 national estuarine research reserves in the country. They are all administered by NOAA, and each individual site has a manager that's local. Our managing institute is California Fish and Wildlife. We are here on the left side below San Francisco, And you can see there's a lot more estuarine research reserves on the east coast. It's flatter. They don't have two plates coming together, creating a mountain range right on the coast like we do. And so we don't have that many estuaries. So the reserve here is in the middle with our partners. The partner not mentioned yet is Elkhorn Slough Foundation. It is a real wonderful partner to have for education because they help us with funding. They purchase properties in the watershed and to bring them back to sustainability. And they have about 4,000 acres of land, and we have 1,700 acres at our reserve. This is what it looks like now. This is a great time of year, but we're closed, so no one gets to see it. Although on our website now, we have drone images going down the trail so people can see what the trails look like. Our website is, we're learning and trying to figure it out, just like that previous conversation we just had on how we can reach teachers now and the public now that we're closed and now that everybody's at home. You know, how can we help out, especially with the education in our particular department. So here we have a variety of habitats: mudflats, salt marshes, coastal scrub, grasslands, coast live oak, woodlands, and our iconic estuary plant is the pickleweed, and it's very important to keep sediments in place and etc. Anyway, here's some plants that, and our coast live oak tree forest that we have, and a variety of other plants here. Plankton, the base of our food chains in the water, and some of our marine invertebrates, just setting the stage of where we are and all these sites. And we also have our invasives that our science team is working on eradicating. These are some of the reptiles. Luckily, no rattlesnakes on our property. Everything's not dangerous. We have freshwater ponds, and we're trying to bring back the Santa Cruz long-toed salamander, red-legged frog, and western pond turtle. Our scientists are working on this regularly. This is actually our reserve manager. I don't know if he would appreciate this photo, but he loves reptiles and herps, and he's doing what he loves best, and that's looking under his cover boards. We are a nursery for leopard sharks and a lot of other fish, and 55% of fish caught in Monterey Bay, Elkhorn Slough is the nursery for that. We are known for our birds because we are a site for migrating birds going north and south, and right now we have a lot of birds on our site. And so these are just some of them. Some of them are residents year round. The ducks like to hang around all winter, and that's always great for us. And so great horned owls usually nesting nearby. Our iconic species is the southern sea otter, and Elkhorn Slough has the highest density of southern sea otter in California. And it's because the Monterey Bay Aquarium nearby has a program for abandoned pups to be adopted by surrogate mothers in the aquarium and raised and then released in Elkhorn Slough. So we are at carrying capacity, and they have really helped the stability of the slough habitats and sea lions and seals. Someone saw a mountain lion the other day, but we don't see them very often. But the rest of the animals, at dusk and dawn, maybe you can see those marine mammals. Here's one of our biologists at the research center. And there's a lot of volunteers who help them monitor the species out there. We also have water quality monitoring, and there have been volunteers for the last since 1988, doing like Globe, monitoring every month the water quality at 24 sites, and similar protocols as we use in Globe. And then more in the 90s, we now have this program called System-Wide Monitoring Program with 4 water quality sites. They look like little test tubes here on this map for our site, but all 29 reserves have 4 water quality sites and 1 weather station site. I put VC where our visitor center is. One of our water quality sites is right next to where the kids take water quality data, so it's really great to be able to compare that. The bottom shows just an example image that you can easily get offline. This one just, you can do 2 variables at a time. And this one's tide level and dissolved oxygen in, for a week. But you can do weather, all kinds of things. And we have a stewardship program that we have a greenhouse that grows all the native plants and lots of volunteers. And the scientists, tell them where to plant them and to bring back the ecosystems. Our visitor center has up to 40,000 people a year and some great exhibits in there. And here's the staff that staffs the visitor center. There's some great scientific aides, young people looking to become environmental scientists. And Bruni back there, he was a watch student. He wants to be an environmental lawyer. And they're just very knowledgeable and very good with kids. So here's our education team. Virginia is the education coordinator, manages all the wonderful education programs. Ariel Hunter, she's the outreach coordinator and a globe trainer. We've got a new Rose Bondurant, a new education assistant, and we'll work with the Estuary Explorers program I'll be telling you about, and then me. So now actually in 2016, we became a partnership, and Globe has been infused in all our programs since then, as much as possible. So Globe's vision and Globe's mission, which I think probably most of you are familiar with, really fit in common with the objectives of our program. So here's the vision, mission. I don't need to read those. But our education objectives: increase the visiting public's knowledge and understanding of estuary and coastal systems, improve students' environmental literacy, and encourage resource conservation behaviors, and provide K-12 teachers and professional environmental educators the capacity to understand estuarine and coastal systems. So we're pretty much in tune with Globe, sometimes a little more focused. We have over 8,000 kindergarten through college students that visit our sites each year, and we have visitor center activities and hikes, which are great. The macro invertebrate and plankton microscope lab, which I'm in charge of, which I love. But now we've always had water quality studies with a red backpack that teachers can sign out. But now all the protocols that they do are Globe protocols. And we'll see, we have trainings for them to learn about how to do that. And we also have a lot of online materials for them to read through before they bring their students out. We've added a biometry, canopy cover, ground cover protocol. And it's actually getting us into the oak forest for the first time. We really haven't had activities out there. And that's what Globe does. It gets you out in places you hadn't figured out how you could get to. We have a lot of field explorations and investigations by groups. Now they're all using Globe protocols. And the 2 examples that I will highlight are Watch and the Estuary Explorers, and they embed Globe in their activities. We have our website's changing a lot daily as we try to figure this, getting our information out. So bear with us, but there's a lot of things that are worth seeing on that website right now. So we do have workshops. Like I said, 2 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, we had to cancel High School Teacher Institute. Really bummed me out. So I wrote a presentation on how to become a teacher online. And so it was really nice to hear Rachael talk about how you can blend that. So that's great. So these are some of the workshops that we have. This one teaches, the Teacher on the Reserve just teaches teachers what we have to offer. And some other ones go beyond aquatic wild. We have a swamp data exploration day. People who know me know I'm a data person. All of you are too, I guess, because you're Globe. And it's really great to be able to have kids look at data and draw conclusions from it. And so we added our Globe workshops, and I hope to put the one we just had, hopefully will be postponed. The Visitor Center staff introduces visitors to the Globe Observer app, involving them in the cloud campaigns. And whenever they can, they're all very into it, and they're very quick to learning and very excited about it. So we have our globe weather station. Sometimes staff members enlist the guests to help with the daily globe weather readings, and so that's always helpful. We did a snapshot Cal Coast Day, and with our own focus, we have a freshwater pond, and we ask everybody to go out in the oaks in the freshwater pond on that Cal Coast Day with an iNaturalist citizen science app to just identify as many critters and plants as they can. So the Elkhorn Slough Estuary Explorers Club, and we have a elementary school that's 1 mile away, and we are surrounded by schools with underrepresented kids, a lot of farm labor families, English is a second language, majority students, and so it's great to have these kids come weekly to come see what their backyard is like. And so they're 2nd to 5th graders. Every Wednesday after school, the bus arrives. They interact with our researchers, and they plant native plants and count crabs. But they come every day, run over to the weather station, take the temperature readings in the rain at the weather station, and they've done the globe biometry canopy cover, ground cover. They do that 3 times during the year. They're very good at it after the first time. And that parent night at the end of the year, the students share their globe projects with their families. So here they are doing some of the things that they do. And here's the end of the year. They're very proud of what they do, of course. And then the last program is the Watch program. It's a Watsonville, our address is Watsonville at Elkhorn Slough, so it's adjacent to us. Watsonville Area Teens Conserving Habitats is a program that the Monterey Bay Aquarium started. And the students do their investigations in Elkhorn Slough at our reserve, and we assist them conducting, with the equipment they need to conduct these investigations. Since I've started working there, I've been the point person to work with the Watch program. So obviously there's a lot of globe going on in that program now. And the teachers and the whole program, Monterey Bay Aquarium, they've adopted and see the value of globe and consistency and the transferability of data. So kids are doing all kinds of, they're doing soil moisture, soil temperature, all the water testing. They're doing temperatures of all type, and a lot of other things beyond. They also use our swamp data for background data. Friday afternoons in the autumn, the teams come to from Watsonville high schools and carry out their investigations. And we're there to greet them and get the wagons going and send them out into the field to collect data. It's really awesome. And each team of 3 or 4 students has a researcher or graduate student in science as mentors. They're volunteer mentors, and they love it too. I've talked to a few of the mentors, and they say, I want to do a project too. I want my project, but they just love working with the kids and helping them out. They actually go into their classrooms too. I go into their classrooms as well to teach them more about globe and swamp. So here is just a map, and it's a my map. And so if you click on any of these images, it's their sites, all the sites. Some of them have 6 sites that they collect data at, and their names are on the left, and then you can click on each icon, and the latitude and longitude and the name of the site, and then they can use that when they enter their globe data. So you can see their interesting names of their groups: crab behavior, reptiles, amphibians, slough guppies, crab cakes, freshwater, grizzlies, and they have all kinds of projects which I don't have time to go into, but they're all interesting and fascinating. So here they are collecting data and being excited. The science mentor up there is on the left. He's more excited than they are, I think. So So they take their, their critters into the lab and they can identify them there. And we have volunteer scientists in the neighborhood who help them. Actually, this is a photo from Moss Landing Marine Lab out to the ocean where they were doing an event. And this is where the SRS, Pacific SRS was supposed to be, May 1st and 2nd. Bummed out that didn't happen, but it's going to be with us next year. So it's just a beautiful place, as is Elkhorn Slough. And on Earth Day, the Watch students take their projects and make a game out of it so that they can share their research with the Watsonville kids. And so here they are showing this is last year. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I've been trying to work with the students to at least upload their projects to the SRS by May 1st. And I think a few of them will be able to do that. I think they're still pretty excited about that. And so they usually present their posters at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which is closed like their schools. And last year, Julie Packard, who's the founder, one of the founders and director, she just loved this program too. And this is the public, open to the public for them to see. And they're very good at presenting. By the end of the year. They learn so much. And so we had 3 of the teams present a couple years ago in NASA Ames at the SRS. And so we're ready to do it again. And before they go out and do their own investigation in the summer, they come to Elkhorn Slough and they practice, and they are taken to all different places in the watershed. They learn their science practices. They carry out a mini investigation. To show them the websites, we have the drone do 360 drone images of all our trails and all our sites, so they can at least see them. They don't have time to hike them when they're there in the summer. And then we force them into a little mini investigation that we give them, and we give them the question. And then they learn how to analyze the data, and they actually go to a place called MBARI, Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, to present this one-day investigation. It gives them a practice. And so we have a curriculum guide, we have things on the website. That's what I have to say. And do any of you have any questions?
People might need to pop off, so I just want to say that next week at 3:10, and I'll make sure I get on a little bit earlier than I did today, is Peter Nelson presenting on NASA at Home, and he's going to highlight the land cover biosphere and celebrate citizen science observation out of my window. So that is what is on for next week. We can keep going, but for those of you that wanted to head on out because it is 4:02, please feel free. And I'll just ask that if Rachel and Peggy have a few minutes in case somebody wants to ask them more questions, that's great. And then next week we just have one presentation, so that should leave us a little more time to check in with everybody and make sure we do introductions and things like that. And we have comments here that it's a beautiful site, Peggy, and great job, Rachel. I'm so glad that one educator was so innovative. And Madeleine and Lynn are both clouds scientists. So it's great that they were on. I don't know if they have anything other than that to add. Amy is saying that she loves the way the programs are set up, and it sounds like an amazing opportunity for the kids. And then Mike says, thank you both. Any questions, though?
Hi, this is Tracy again. Peggy, I've been getting some feeds on Facebook about live virtual tours of Elkhorn Slough, and Dave did a live tour of lifting up his
Yes.
pieces of wood or whatever, his big things. How would our teachers find out if and when these virtual tours or live tours are happening?
Well, elkhornslough.org, go to education.
Okay.
Actually, we have a meeting at 2. Well, here it's 1:05, not 4:05. But
Yeah.
at 2, I have a meeting with the education staff just about that question. We're all just kind of like, we don't, yeah, I'm not sure, other than that's where you would go. It's elkhornslough.org, and then you can go to education. There might be something on the front page because it's being updated all the time. So that's
Okay.
where you go.
Well, and the only, I mean, I found out through Facebook, you know, because I follow Elkhorn Slough via Facebook. So that's how it came across my feed, and that might be for anybody who's on Facebook and might want to. They're really good. The virtual tours are really good. So it might be nice to engage students in something like that.
Yeah, I guess the Facebook would be a good way to go because they do keep that up. And Twitter. So
Amy,
anyway,
is
I was just hoping somebody might get an idea they might want to use. Otherwise, I just like to talk about good things.
Amy asked, what do you put in the book bags that the kids take out? Is that, wait, is that for Rachel or Peggy?
Must be.
Peggy. Yes?
Rachel. Peggy.
Peggy.
Well, in our bags, the one I was talking about, it was water quality equipment. We have the bucket and all the water quality equipment, and then they take the transparency tube. We also have plankton nets they can check out and bring plankton in, and they can look at that, but not book bags. I can't hear you.
Larissa says, thank you both. Peggy and Rachel, great presentations. And then Madeleine says, I'm so happy helping out the Science Action Club with their amazing programs.